You're welcome to TCC Tech Career Clinic. Welcome to the next episode. For this episode, we will be demystifying software engineering. We would like to officially welcome you all. I will be your host. My name is Tersoo Hulugh, and I am the founder of Maxify Global. Maxify Global is the sponsors of this event. And on this special event, we will be hosting two amazing, highly experienced software engineers. They have a combined experience of over 15 years, and they will be having conversations with us today around software development, what it takes to pursue and have a successful career in software development, and also what it takes for a software engineer to start their own organization or succeed as a freelancer. So without wasting much of your time, as you're joining us, kindly in the chat room, let us know where you're joining us from. Introduce yourself. Let's know your name, your location, which is country and city you're joining us from in the chat room, so we can know how colorful our event is. In the last episode, we had people joining from 8 different countries around the world, and it was pretty amazing. So I would like to, at this stage, welcome our speakers, two amazing individuals we have here. We have, fortunately or interestingly, they are both called Emmanuel. We have Emmanuel Chilaka. Hi, Emmanuel.
Hi, everyone. Good evening.
Yeah, evening.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you. We also have Emmanuel Ogbiyoyo. Hi, Emmanuel. Welcome. So for the purpose of this event, I would like to refer to Chilaka as Chilaka and Emmanuel as Emmanuel. So just permit me, except you have another name you prefer me call you. Your mic is mute.
Yeah, Chilaka works for me, so of course we can go with that.
Awesome.
So as I was saying, actually, most people don't even know me by the name Emmanuel, so it's Freeman. That's my name. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, here, Emmanuel. Yeah.
So
As
we
my
have
government
Freeman
name.
and we have Chilaka in the building. Freeman is joining us from the UK, and Chilaka is joining us from Uganda. And I am hosting you guys from the United States. And this is, we have the whole world represented here already. So yeah, Chilaka is a highly experienced, dedicated front-end engineer working at Eversend. Yeah, Eversend is a fintech company based in London. And yeah, he's highly experienced. We will be giving him an opportunity to tell us a brief about himself. We also have Emmanuel. Emmanuel is, will I say, he's a full stack engineer. We're working for Slide. Am I correct?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Slide in the UAE. So it's pretty interesting. Emmanuel is in the UK, working in the UAE, and Chilaka is in Uganda, working for an organization based in London. This is pretty awesome. So yeah, at this point, we will like to give our participants a brief of what TCC is all about. I'm sure a lot of people will be wondering what's Tech Career Clinic. So Tech Career Clinic is basically a career acceleration event. It's a series designed to empower and support the next generation of young African technology professionals. It's a virtual event strictly, and it's aimed at providing invaluable guidance, mentorship, and insights to help participants build successful careers in the tech industry. So at the end of this event, we expect that our participants will go home more enlightened, and people who are aspiring to be the next generation software engineers will be able to avoid the pitfalls you guys fell in while trying to navigate your career. So they have more, express. And apart from that, I know there's this stigma around software engineering. People assume it is difficult. I know it is, but I'm sure you guys will find a way to make it as less mystifying as possible. So at this point, we would like to give you guys an opportunity to introduce yourselves. Just a brief, tell us who you are, your role, the organization you're working for, and then what inspired you to become a software engineer. So we're going to be starting with Emmanuel. You have the floor.
Okay, I guess that's me.
Yeah, that's you. Okay, Freeman.
Yeah. So, my name is Emmanuel. Most people call me Freeman. I work at Slide. Slide is a e-commerce stroke marketing company in the UAE, Saudi Arabia to be specific. I live in the UK. I did my master's here in software engineering. And at Slide, I work as a platform engineer at the same time as a backend engineer. So I do like double because it's a startup environment. So came in to help scale the company. And that's why I was in Slide. So literally, what do you want to know about me aside from coding would just be I like gaming. Other than nothing else, yeah. I like gaming and I like football. So that's it. Yeah. General.
Nice. That's very awesome. I'm sure we're going to have a ride this evening or morning or night, however, wherever people are joining us from. Yeah. So over to you, Chilaka.
All right, thank you guys for having me. My name is Emmanuel, right? And different people know me by different names from, say, Ikenna family or some friends or organizations you have worked in before. Emmanuel, and I work with Eversend, right? A fintech platform. We basically are into cross-border payments. We help Africans in diaspora as well as Africans in Africa to be able to move money across some African countries easily and as quick as possible, right? My daily job involves making sure that our platform is usable, resolving customer issues, as well as supporting customers where need be. So that also involves building out new features on our platforms, primarily, documenting our processes and then making sure that people are able to send money to their loved ones in any of the places we operate in. So I'm glad to be here to discuss about how we've been able to build what we are currently building, and of course to also help and support others who are here to grow and learn more about what we do. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Chilaka. So at this point, we will like to have an idea. Say, just give us a brief. What really inspired you into pursuing a career as a software engineer? We will be starting with Chilaka. What was the inspiration behind you deciding, hey, software development is for me?
Well, for me, I would say I stumbled into it, right? When I tell the story, it's very funny. I was a bit confused, growing up. I just wanted to be an engineer, based off the city I grew up in, Port Harcourt, and everyone wants to work in the oil companies around there. So for me, I wanted to also work in that space. I applied like everyone to study petrochemical engineering, but that didn't happen. Along the line, I was given computer science to study. So what shaped my ideas to eventually doing what I'm doing now was the people I hung out with while I was in school, my peers, because for them this was what they were interested in, and it just makes all sense to just flow with them, what they do, and that's how I found myself. And over time, I started looking as well around what happens in the industry. So for me, it was just like it wasn't like I wanted to do this. I stumbled into it by virtue of not able to do what I wanted to do, then forcing me to study computer science. I met like some very smart people who shaped my ideologies, and that is how I found myself doing software engineering today.
Nice, nice, nice. That's pretty interesting. But I'm sure you love it, right?
Of course.
I'm kind
So,
of curious. I'm kind of curious. Were you in Uniport?
No. I schooled in the Eastern Nigeria.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't
Okay.
school in Port Harcourt. Yeah.
Funny enough, I was in
okay.
Port Harcourt, so that's why it would be shocking that you're from Port Harcourt and I'm sure you're also my
Imagine.
Anyway,
Nice.
yeah.
That cut in the building. So,
Yeah.
on to you, Freeman. Let us know what was the inspiration.
So mine is kind of funny, because I started out initially. So I studied in Port Harcourt, which is Uniport. I studied biochemistry and chemistry technology. That was my first degree. So around was that my fourth year? I think around my fourth year. Um, there was then crypto was booming. There was something on the Steam blockchain back then. So I'm a friend. My friend, he works at Delivery Hero right now in Germany. We actually worked on a project together. Then I didn't really know how to code initially. I learned on the job, like learned actually building because I was interested in knowing how things were done. I did a lot of tiny projects that were kind of like related to actually funding myself through school back then. I'll start with the first one. The first one was a project called InstaChow. InstaChow was about food delivery. Then there was no Jumia, there was nothing like all those food delivery companies that existed right now. Um, so around school environment, I built a platform that could allow people to actually order their food. So the idea was I wanted to get there was something called the Steam coin on the blockchain. Then there was a Steam blockchain. You can Google the Steam blockchain, you get it. It was far back as 2015, 2014. Then I was writing a bit of I did some open source work then. So I wanted to get more of everybody's money. That was literally the reason I actually learned how to code. So I wanted people to be able to pay for food with Steam coin, and alongside them, Paystack just opened up. Paystack was not, they were not in existence about that point. So I wanted to get InstaSwitch, but they were asking for 100 grand and I was a student. So I went opting for Paystack, which they're literally begging me to join them, like literally just try their platform out. So it was for free. So I built the platform around school environments. Everybody was using it to like buy stuff. But the problem was I'm an introvert. So I was always inside the house. I couldn't scale because I didn't know any investor or something. I knew nobody. I knew nobody. It was just me and my guy. And the problem we're having was more of logistic issue. So I was literally the software engineer and the process guy that literally has to go and deliver the food by himself. So I have to go to sometimes Choba, roam along, and sometimes around school environment, Alu, go and deliver food for them. So it was really stressful. At some point, I had to give up because it wasn't scalable. Then there came another time in my life. I was into gambling. So at one point in time, so I built a gambling platform that allowed people to give tips on. So I literally charged my neighbor. He didn't know I was the owner. He paid 10,000 naira for for a tip that I still failed. So then it was actually funny because I literally built a lot of project learning. So it was actually entrepreneurship at the same time, trying to get things working. That was actually how I started coding. Then some of my work got like recognition. Some of the things. Then there was Adonis JS at some points. It just came in. A lot of people were actually using Adonis JS, but there were not a lot of resources. And I was writing articles on then alongside Laravel. And somebody, a CTO in Lagos, actually stumbled on my work, and he reached out via email based on I had my email there, and he messaged me if I would like come work with them. So I had to relocate to Lagos. I took the job because I was done with school and I was just in school environment wasting. So I was like, okay, fine, no problem, I'll take it. I went to Lagos. I worked for a couple of companies in Lagos. I worked for Crenet. That was the first company. I worked at Tangerine Africa. I was in charge of their banking system, banking and insurance. Then I worked for companies in Italy. I think I worked two companies in Italy actually. Then I moved over to the UK. I think Tangerine was actually my last when I moved over to the UK. Yeah. So that's been the journey so far. It was more of me trying to make money because at some point I lost my dad, so it was just me. And I needed to find a way to actually help my younger ones. There were two. So try and pay myself through school and my sister. So that was the whole idea why I literally started coding. Yeah. So the journey has been long. Yeah.
That's quite a journey, man.
Yeah.
And it's really inspiring, for the fact that you had to innovate out of necessity,
Yeah.
and that's true innovation. That's what we're trying to inspire in young Africans, upcoming professionals, entrepreneurs. It's mostly about solving local problems you or the people next to you are facing, and that inspires you to go forward. And the beauty about TCC is we're capturing two major areas. We're going to be discussing, yes, how to become a top professional, and also, should you want to be self-employed or become an entrepreneur, what will be the things you have to focus on and how do you go about that? So this only lays the foundation for what we're trying to discuss here. So next up, we'll be moving to the next segment, still on you, Freeman. When it comes to software development, I understand we have the front end, the back end, and we have full stack developers, right? So could you please tell our audience or explain the core differences between these three areas?
Okay. I'll give an overview since I've been through like the three phases. I started out as a front end engineer. I wasn't very pretty good. I don't like designs and CSS, so I jumped over to the back end. I worked on the back end. I still work on the back end, and I decided to see how things run in the cloud. So I moved over to cloud computing. So, and the general overview, since the fact that I had to study it in school and understand the real mechanisms of how things are working in terms of business part of it, the business computing of things. So I can give an overview that would actually guide people on how they can go about it and the mistakes I made. Maybe. So I'll start with front end. I'll start front end engineering. So front end engineering more like gives you an overview of the interfaces of what you need to we need to work with what you see as a user. It's not necessarily about a web application or a mobile app. It could be even an IoT application, this front end, just an interaction user interface that you can click on. Your ATM machine, the UI you see on your ATM machine, that's front end. It's just necessarily about what you can interact with as a user, not necessarily how the data is being processed. Now we go to the back end. The backend itself is how the data, the inputs that the users are putting in. Let's say I want to get money from an ATM machine. I literally say I want 10,000. That 10,000 is an input. That data is actually being passed out to the backend, and the backend try to process that money, that transaction itself for you to know what it needs to do. So the backend has it stores your information, it processes data, so there's a layer between that. Now you have things like cloud computing itself. Now, cloud computing holds details of that machine that actually you're putting in that input. Where is it running on? Is it going to be running on the cloud? Is it on premise? Like on premise, meaning if you're familiar with back then when we have cyber cafes in Nigeria. I don't know about other people here, where you have loads of servers. You see people with multiple computers in one particular room, and those things actually they have an internet network that data could actually be stored on those stuff, and you could share network between you and your friends. You're chatting in the house. So that's basically cloud computing, but in a bigger sense, they expose it to an internet that every other person can access. So you and I can actually get a computer on the cloud and run our application just like we decide to run it on our local machine. Our local machine is not connected to any other person. It's just you. But now we decide to connect it to the internet, which is somebody in the UK can get access to that same data that you in Nigeria or you're in France, you could access that data. So that's literally an overview from like the front end, the back end, the cloud computing things. And there's also, let me just add a bit. There's also when it comes to software engineering itself, there's also the business aspect of things, which is business itself. You need to understand things like the process, how things are done. For example, how do you get from building to build an application? Where do you start from? Where are the things you need to do? How do you lay out a project pass properly? Do you worry about things like GDPR laws and case studies of problems that could arise from you being sued? Because as a software engineer, you need to worry about things like that. You just don't build and take people's data and just store it anyhow. So you need to understand those things. So generally, that's an overview. So we could highlight
Awesome.
that. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm actually learning too.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is pretty amazing. And back to Chilaka, we would like to have an idea of what kind of skills, and best practices when it comes to uh, excelling in the software development ecosystem in the domain. What kind of skills will somebody have to learn, to say they want to be a software developer in a perspective of front end, back end, and cloud?
I mean, for skills, I would speak specifically to front end, right?
Yeah.
And speaking to that, there's just a lot, right? But based off this conversation here, I won't be able to capture a lot. But for front end, the basic and the core will still be like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? Over time, for people who are just starting out, they would eventually grow to learning things like frameworks around that, But on the core of what you need to learn, right? The fundamentals of that HTML, CSS, JavaScript, version control. That's like cuts across whether you're a front end guy or a back end guy, or whether you're also doing cloud computing, right? That would also mean for you to get an understanding of that. For front end specifically, you need to also know how to do a lot of debugging using your developer tools on the browser, right? Because you're basically building for not just one device type. Sometimes the crazy thing I want to also believe why Emmanuel Freeman ran away was that they also have to build applications that work on multiple browsers,
Mine
So
wasn't really, it wasn't really about that. It was more of I just don't like CSS. I don't like the problem of
okay,
mixing colors. I'm terrible. I say
yeah.
my best color is black or white. Actually, I don't have to mix. So I actually don't like colors. So it wasn't just working.
So you just ran away, But then these are just like the basics of what you need to know, like, right? Also responsive designs, UI, UX. As a front end guy, of course, in
That's
engineering, you need to just have that basic idea of user experience and user interface. You don't necessarily need to be a UI designer, right? But to also help you to know how to mix colors, just like he's saying, what's chased him. Then, of course, optimizing some of these applications to run faster. As much as the cloud is trying to make sure that the application is fast, the backend guy is making a lot of adjustments on his APIs. You as a front end guy also needs to focus on optimizing the application and making sure that images are saved such that they are not so heavy on the application, and making and also making using techniques like caching, lazy loading, and all that. So there's just a lot, right? Understanding APIs also how they relate with the front end as well as back end. So there's a lot, But also, beyond all of these things, you need to also have soft skills, communication, collaboration, you know, teamwork, problem solving. This cuts across whether you are a front end or a back end. Some people just want to jump into building, but there are also the core skills of working with others, right? Some people don't know how to work with other people, so you need to also have those soft skills to communicate, to solve problems. There's no one or defined way to solve problems. Like I always tell people when going through tutorials, some of those ideas you see are just people trying to come up with how they solve problems. Over time, you learn better how to solve problems, and that's just a skill of its own. With the advent of AI, ChatGPT and the likes, those are also better ways to help you solve more problems as an engineer generally today, and software engineering as a whole. So yeah, these are some of the essentials you need to know. Fundamentals are very important, whether backend or front end. Trying to just jump through, oh, what is the new buzz today? People are making use of a shiny to React, Vue and whatnot, and you just want to jump into learning those. You still find a hard time getting an understanding of how generally engineering works, right? You need to still come back, understand the fundamentals of how things work, learn from there. So when you're picking a new tool or a new framework or even new technologies tomorrow, it will be easy for you to adapt, right? The reason why Freeman is able to do a lot of things is because he has like a foundation knowledge of how things work. So he could pick up a tool tomorrow or even a new language, and let's say in 2 weeks or less, he's able to build out something with those, because the core of what is involved in engineering generally, he has an understanding. He's not just jumping into learning a tool that it's shiny and everyone is talking about it on social media, right? So that's like the most important. Get the basics right, and then have soft skills that will help you learn and grow as you proceed.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I hope our audience are listening. It's majorly about the problem. In every day in my own work as a product manager, we always tell our engineers, our designers, and everybody, it's all about the problem. We don't get carried away by all the tools we're using to solve the problem and think the tools are more important than the problem. So I certainly resonate with you. So I'm sure listening to all what we've said so far, a lot of our audience, members of our audience will be like, okay, this sounds interesting, but the next thing is why? Why is software engineering? Like how what are the benefits? Okay, they'll be like, what are the benefits? If I become a software developer tomorrow, what are the benefits? What kind of benefits will I enjoy? What's the financial benefits? What's the personal benefits and all that stuff? So Freeman, considering the fact that you're a full stack developer and an entrepreneur at the same time, I think you have the opportunity to jump on this first.
Okay. So you're asking what's the benefit of learning software engineering. So I think for me, I'll start with I like using my journey. So for me, the benefit was initially I was able to work on a product itself, not just because I wanted to solve a problem. So you have that problem solving ability as one of those things there. You're able to solve problems and make money. That's one. Um, the job kind of like gives you the ability to have freedom. Number one, that's it. Like the fact that I am not tied to, I've worked with a lot of companies. That's one. Um, I think there's something they say about software engineers. We jump a lot, so like it's something. So I literally have jumped a lot. So um it's possible in terms of like financial freedom and working ideally from home remotely. Some days, some months, some particular time I could be in. Maybe last time I was in Spain, I was working in Spain, but I went on holiday. I was still working my job, doing my stuff, enjoying myself. And the weekend, in the evenings, I go out. Where I'm on holiday, I still work. I go back to the UK, or if I'm going to Saudi Arabia on visit, I can still work anywhere. So I can work anywhere. That's the idea. And the salary is quite lucrative, like it's actually good. You could earn as a senior engineer in depending on where you're working. It depends on, let's say in the UK for senior engineers, you get at least like 80 grand and above, 80,000 pounds a year to like 120 pound a year, depending on the level, the grade where you're working. Which is quite okay. As in Nigeria, for example, while I was in Nigeria, I was already earning a different um in a different currency. I wasn't earning, so no matter the amount of inflation, I wasn't really affected because I was actually earning a different currency. So I was actually my purchasing power was actually high. Um, aside that, what other benefits? So those are the major benefits, literally. Aside that, yeah. So you could probably think of,
Awesome.
yeah.
Because I know you guys are paid heavily. You
Technically,
you said in the UK, software developers are paid, say, 80K, 80,000
pounds,
pounds.
yeah.
In the US, some are paid as high as 250,000 to 300 a year, and that's crazy. So it just makes you want to be a software developer. But the truth is, you have to get your hands dirty. You have to pay your dues. You have to follow the process. You have to trust the process. And definitely, if you're good, your skill is going to speak for you. Guess I'm speaking for both of you, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So with all these skills as a software developer, if I decide that I don't want to be working for people, we want to know if there are other avenues that software developers can make money and make financial gains apart from, say, becoming a top professional and working for huge organizations. So, Chilaka, please
Okay.
help us elaborate. Are there other avenues like
Yeah,
freelancing
there's a
and all that
lot,
stuff?
right? There's a lot of ways you can make money, right, as a software engineer. Freelancing, like you said, right? There's also consulting, right? I want to also believe that Freeman, right? Of course, we are here, so we can always make reference to each other. We also still take like consulting gigs beyond the full-time gigs we do, even though it's exhausting sometimes, right? But when you look at the monetary benefit, you'd be like, oh, I can always have this and get to sort out one or two needs. So that's always there. Then they're also teaching and tutoring. We see a lot of online platforms today where engineers are able to share their knowledge. Udemy, Coursera, and a whole lot of them. So you can also like sign up on those platforms as instructors, create courses around that, and you're paid for people going through your courses. Then of course, blogging and writing, right? There are a lot of engineers who are making money through technical writing today. Just he's talked about doing a lot of writing, and someone in Lagos saw some of his work, then sent him an email to move over to Lagos, blogging as well. So people can just share knowledge of what they know or their specific areas that they're much more interested in. And then through, say, sponsored posts, ad and all that, you can also make money from your platforms. Then investing, engineers today, with all the money they are making, a lot of them are also looking at investing in smaller organizations, startups, I like to see like spread the risks, and if one or two of those startups are successful tomorrow, you're also making money off them. Online marketplaces today like Fiverr, people per hour, there are also engineers who are on those platforms and make money from these platforms, people reaching out to them. Some also sell ebooks on platforms like Gumroad, Etsy and the like. So there's also YouTube. I see a lot of, especially Nigerian engineers today migrating to YouTube. Those ones who have relocated to the UK, they're trying to also now grow their user base on YouTube to also make money from that platform by just vlogging, showing us how they live their life on a daily basis, and some of the things they do. So that's also like an avenue today. Lastly, some also are also playing around e-commerce and say drop shipping. They have the skills, they can just build like a mini application extending some existing application and sell maybe merge or even ideas, you know. So these are like ways engineers can make money beyond just what they do. So there are even engineers who don't work full time. They're making money through one or even more of these um ideas I just shared now. So there are a lot of ways engineers can make money. So they just need to find a niche and see what works for you, you know, keep doing it consistently, everything would fall in place.
Awesome. Awesome. Freeman, you have anything to add?
Yeah, so in terms of actually the benefits, as I said, like you can actually decide to build your own stuff. You could solve problems yourself. I do have I've done a lot of startup. I think the first two, which was the food, the betting. I actually currently have one that is more of a travel startup that allows you to travel and plan your trips and itineraries. So literally that whole idea, it gives birth to a lot of things that you could think about. You could literally build, you don't necessarily need to put in a lot of work. You can start based on your engineering skill, you can start out building an MVP, which is more like the minimum viable product. Put two soft local tools together to build something, get users, then end up building the actual product. So it gives you that ability to think outside the box faster. So I think that's what I just want to add here.
Awesome. 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 So I'm just curious. After all this, knowing all this about software development and all that, where can somebody start from? So if I want to start my career now, yeah, I'm intrigued at the fact that everything I have learned here now so far. How do I start? Where do I go learning?
Okay.
So this brings us to the next question, which is, are there any professional certifications out there, online courses, or say books or resources that people can actually leverage on to start? If there are, which of them do you guys recommend? We can go
So
with Freeman.
yeah, so there are actually good resources out there, a lot of resources. So I would just like to go through my own journey, so make it easier for any other person. So for me, I didn't actually focus on actually getting certification, going to a lot of schools, or maybe like so. I literally learned at home. I did start from here. Let me just share. This is where I started my journey with something very simple. This is where I started. I always share it across if I meet somebody new that is interested. So when you're starting working with, you want to work on. So I'm dropping a link. This will just take you to the basics. Um, I did start
Awesome.
with this. This gives you, I think, let me see if it's still open. HTML.net. They have like pretty good. Oh, I think this stuff is not opening again. HTML.
It's
HTML.
still open, so I'm able to see it here.
Yeah, but I don't know. From here, I'm not seeing anything. Are you seeing something?
Yes, of course, it opens.
But yeah, I remember HTML.net is where I started from. Um, yeah. So it gives you the overall broad that gives you that broad view of the front end, the back end, and JavaScript. Literally just teach you a little bit the basics. You try to understand it, it paints the idea in your head. Then I did a lot of I think I learned more on YouTube, specifically YouTube Free Code Camp. So I go with free resources a lot, mostly free resources. Certifications, I don't know so much about certifications because I don't even have any. The only certificate I have is my master's degree in software engineering. Aside that, I don't have any other certifications. Even up to my knowledge in Kubernetes, and those were hands-on experience on the job, Kubernetes, and both my backend. I write a couple of languages. I started with PHP. Um, I did JavaScript. I write Node.js, Python, and Golang and Java. So those are the things I write. So it's easier when you literally understand the basics. you can easily pick up anything. So a new language is just a tool for me. I just jump on it, and in a couple of weeks, 2 weeks, I'm good. I can start writing along with the documentation. You'll be able to build anything new. So literally. So for the process, you actually start with front end, learn depending on some people want to go straight to the back end. If you want to do, maybe you want to specialize on the back end. But I still tell you that if as a back end engineer, you should first of all start with the front end. So you understand the data that you're going to be sending to your front end, first of all, because it gives you the ability to structure your APIs in such a way that both the front end, you're not going to stress anybody. Because I started as a front end engineer, so I understand how you front-end engineers want their data structured. They don't really want to start going round tripping to go to multiple APIs, calling some things that can easily fetch from one place where you could easily populate the keys that you need for them. Um, you most likely start front end, go to the back end. If you want to be a full stack engineer, you go to the back end, front end. You can stop there as a full stack engineer, but some companies actually still want to need you to know about cloud. You might have to just do the minimum for cloud is just DevOps, little DevOps, know how to create pipelines to deploy your application. Then if you want to go overboard, you can do C card, which is the C card certification for engineers that wants to know about Kubernetes. Then there's administrator, which is like platform engineering. You're moving towards the higher level. So generally, that's the stream downwards. Then you can get bored at some point in time. You want to venture into machine learning, or you want to venture into IoTs and leave web and decide to say you want to do desktop. I did some projects where I had to do like write Ionic. Ionic is desktop applications. You use them for desktop applications. You can use Electron too. So there are different areas you might need to just want to. So it's based on your what you want to build for. But I still believe most people should stay on the web, because right now, how many people install desktop applications? The web is actually growing, and there's I haven't forgot, there's also things like Web3. I do Solidity too. So there's Web3. I'm a hustler, so I do a lot of things. There's Solidity. There's Solidity. You can write Solidity and actually build Web3 application on the blockchain. So that's another shining tool too. But depending on where you want to venture into, you can say, I want to stay on the back end and just decide to be a backend engineer, focus fully on scaling application on the back end. Or you want to stay like front end engineer, like my guy here. He likes front end, he just want to stay there. Right. So uh depending, man. If the money is good, I'll pick up anything that you need to learn and make more money. So that's it. So it's just a tool. So gives you the
Awesome.
variety. Yeah.
Awesome. Chilaka, you want to add any resources?
So
Any place you can point our audience to say they want to start?
There wouldn't be like a place right in mind, but there's a lot of resources today, right? And then there's a lot of confusion as well out there today, because a lot of people are saying different things on social media. People are a bit confused, right? One of the things I would say is you just need to find a need for what works for you. If you want to do this kind of engineering, whether cloud, full stack, front end or back end, you need to drive your own learning, right? And try to create a path that works for you away from the noise on social media. If learning through ebooks is your thing, get a lot of ebooks. There are a lot of them that are very detailed, right? If also learning online works for you, YouTube is a huge resource. There's Udemy, there's Pluralsight, there is for focus learning, front-end masters, for front-end related. There's just a lot of them, right? Is to look for what works for you. So for me, one of the things that have helped me to be able to, one, stay focused and of course improve over the years is my approach to learning. And then it's based off closing my eyes from what is happening on social media and just putting down and having mentors, mentors specifically, not saying I have to reach out to these guys every day, because one of the problems I have is a lot of people always chatting me up. Oh, I want to learn this, I want to learn that. It's annoying and draining most times because we also have a lot of things going on as individuals. I'd rather prefer people who have specific issues as relates to what they are learning, to reach out to people based off those issues, and they're able to get help easily. So for me, indirectly, I have people who I would say these are like my mentors, but I probably haven't had a chat with them before, or even reached out to them, but I just look at what they do and try to replicate. I was having a conversation with someone yesterday that one of the ways for you to improve, not just software engineering, generally in whatever craft you're doing, is look at what others are doing, try to emulate what they are doing, and add your own creativity to that. You realize that along the line, you're learning a lot of new things just by modeling exactly what someone has done. The greatest artists in the world they didn't come up with the ideas themselves. They're just looking at another artist, what he has done, and they built on that, made it better. So if the same ideology works for software engineer generally, look at someone within your locality, and you admire the work they do, you try to replicate some of the things they've done. That entire process would practically push you to learning new things you wouldn't know that you'd learn throughout that entire process, right? Then, as much as possible, network, that plays a major role. My example when I started was I was opportune to have friends, my peers, who were this was just it was like fun for us, in our uni days, helping people build out projects, even like in our like 200 levels we're building for people in final year and all that. So it was fun, but indirectly we're building the core skills we needed to survive, say 8 to 10 years down the line. I think I was out of uni 2014, so almost 10 years now. So, but along the line, these are like have helped us build some of those skills from pet projects we did, playing around. That network really helped us, and we're still in contact today, even though we're all scattered across the world. So getting an internship also plays a vital role. At some point I had all of these skills, but I felt like I needed an internship. Regardless of what skills I had to go to an organization and just told them to absorb me in, to work on real projects that people are using, to just explore more beyond the skills I had. And this was, I think, in 2016 or 17, beyond the skills I had. So some of these things also help push you. Then, as much as possible, people might disagree. Not everyone is super talented like Freeman, right? But specialization plays a very important role in software engineering. You could start from front end and then eventually become full stack, or you want to be a backend engineer, you focus on that. But sometimes people don't want, especially when you want to work for very large organizations. Startups are those places where they want a guy who would wear many hats, who could, today he's trying to fix an issue on a live environment server. Tomorrow he's tweaking some stuff on the back end as well as the front end. But when you want to work for like very large product-driven organizations, you realize that specialty plays a very important role, right? So at a point in time while you're starting out, you need to choose a struggle to say, oh, I want to focus on front end, or I want to focus on back end. And over time, you realize that you want to also now do a lot of things, maybe the full stack, which also works. But very early enough, you need to specialize. That would help you also drill down your learning process to know, oh, I'm just focusing on learning this and getting a job in, say, 6 months or 1 year later. So these are just the essentials you need pursuing that career in software engineering.
Wow.
Thank you.
Let me add something to this.
Oh,
So I think the main reason why you sometimes want you most likely go around was I think for me it was because I was actually trying to build a system initially myself. So I had to dabble into a lot. So that way I got the overall view. And I didn't really do internship. So internship was very internship can be very difficult to get right now. Like
Yeah,
as
it's
it is
very
right now,
difficult
it's quite
now.
difficult to get right now. I really didn't do internship. My journey was more of I was building products myself to actually learn. Then I actually did. So another way you can actually try to work with other people to get collaboration is actually open source. So I did some open source collaborations with some people where they were working on this on the Steam blockchain. So that way I got experience in collaboration with people. So that way you probably wouldn't need internship because you have worked in a setting where people are actually making PROs together. They are committing, making code commits together and trying to build a particular system. So that way you will not necessarily have to be finding an internship and you can easily get a job by pointing out to the projects that you've worked on. Both your pet projects, if you had a startup and it failed, it's fine. Things failed. So you can attach them, the links to them. And so I had to jump towards wear the hats of a front-end guy and a back-end guy, and I needed to run my application. So I needed to be a DevOps guy at the same time. So that way I was able to learn faster. But I would not advise anybody to go that route. I rather advise you stick to one. Either you start on the front end or start on the back end and just continue like that. Except you are planning on building, you want to start working on your own from initial starts, which is very difficult. I still end up working, but end up working for people to gain more experience and exposure to how people are actually scaling stuff, how they scale systems. Then I end up going back to my own stuff and building and still working. That's the way I work right now, build for myself and working for people. So that way I'll be able to achieve the heights I'm looking for. So that's it.
Wow, this is amazing. So if I get you guys right, you can leverage on working, doing outsource, how did you
Open source.
open source
Content.
projects. You can work with
Yeah.
teams to build open source projects. That could give you experience. If you
Yes.
have volunteering opportunity
Do that.
or internship opportunities, you do that. And if you have a plan of building your own product, then you really need to be an all-rounder.
Yes, you need to be an all-rounder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Except you are going to find somebody that is like-minded like you, that is interested in actually joining you, that has that same skill that you would need to finish the stuff, which is always very difficult because you don't have money. So,
Yeah.
so the only basic way is to do it yourself. So
Okay.
literally.
So when it comes to mentors, Chilaka said something. He has mentors that really don't know he exists. And I really can resonate with that because I do too. I have mentors that I just wake up every morning and go to their handles and be like, okay, what is he saying today? You know, what
Yeah,
is
you can get mentors like that.
Yeah. And I really think that helps a lot. And mentorship is not just having somebody you get to call every day and say, hey, this is it. And in our last episode, one of our speakers recommended that don't ask your mentor a question that you can find on Google.
Yeah, definitely.
So mentorship is not, these mentors are highly experienced and that comes with responsibilities. So their time is very valuable. So I really resonate with that. And if I may ask, are there any, I know you software developers can be very difficult to find online on social media. You guys are always on your code and stuff. But are there any very vocal software developers out there online that you guys could recommend for our viewers to follow? You know,
there are a lot on YouTube, a lot of them on YouTube.
okay.
Let me see if I probably don't have a lot in my head. Let me go to my YouTube. There's Mosh.
We're
You
going to be having a document sent to all our participants at the end of the event, and that document will capture information like this, where we will harmonize resources, we'll harmonize your social media handles should they want to follow you guys. We'll also have information about other mentors, learning materials, resources, ideas on how to skill up and all that stuff. So that will really come in handy.
Okay,
And
we could drop that later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I can see a lot of some few questions in the chat. And to these questions, we're going to be taking questions at the end of this, which will soon be coming to an end. And so let's go to the next stage, which is the career, when it comes to career advice. So what career advice would you have for someone who's aspiring to become a software developer?
For someone who's trying to be a software developer, I'll just have to tell you that it's not an easy journey. You might want to feel like giving up at some point, because sometimes it's going to be difficult trying to work and you're not earning at the beginning of the stuff you're just learning, because literally you have to just keep going at it. There are some days things just don't work out. Like, I'm probably working on something, I probably won't know it all. I can stay on. When I was learning, I stayed on a problem. Let me give you an example. I stayed on a problem for 2 weeks trying to solve one problem, and guess what? It's just one letter, and the letter was because I spelled height in America. I spelled height in British instead of American. So you could, so it's weird like that. So literally, you can hit problems like that. And I kept wondering, like, why is this thing not changing? Because I expected the heights of the div to increase. Those are the things, the height of the div. Or you could mix. Maybe you're trying to get a color and you spell color instead of, you spelled COLOUR, and instead of COLOR, and that's it. You'll be there, and it will even throw an error because the CSS problem. That was one. Or you're trying to solve a problem, some things are not working, it's working locally, it's not working on servers. So you have to now start figuring out how to learn. So you literally hit problems. The thing is that you have to not give up, because there's always light at the end of the tunnel. That's what I will just have to tell you. So you just have to improve yourself. And there's also constant, I still buy books. I have like large books in my house. There's always that constant eagerness you have to be eager to learn. You must you must not be weary about the size of the thing you're about to learn, a new shining technology that you need to learn. And you need to make sure that you are always interested in learning from others, and you're always interested in making sure that whatever you're going to put out there is going to be the best for you, best for the company you're working for. So literally, those are the things I'll just add to it. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Chilaka, any career advice for our audience and people who are aspiring software engineers?
Yeah, so it's tiring, right? The process of learning, and you would sometimes feel drained, like a lot of things are not falling in place as you'd hoped. My advice would be just keep pushing, keep building, keep learning, and they are like have like a better support system, people you can always reach out to when you feel like it's overwhelming, that can help you talk you out of some situations, to just give you the right motivation, right? But at the end of the day, there's always reward for hard work. Once you are able to put in the work, there's definitely success at the end of the day. That would be my advice.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So this takes us to the next segment, which is questions. And we have two questions in the chat. I would read them. The first question, please, can one of the speakers explain what a full stack engineer does? I've seen some professionals with backend job description, yet having the title full stack dev on their LinkedIn.
So what's a full stack engineer? A full stack engineer is actually someone that actually can work. First of all, they most likely working mainly startups. That's one. I don't think somebody like Google will be looking for a full stack engineer. They're most likely looking for somebody that specializes on one particular thing, either a front end or a back end. So the full stack engineer can see the lens of, literally look at the lens from everything and just view through the whole system. They can build from a front end and actually go back and build what needs to be done on the back end to actually get that system working. So literally that's full stack. Not necessarily full stack has to do DevOps, but some nowadays they want you to be everything, which is more of the startup environment. So you have to wear multiple hats. I can give you a scenario now. For example, the company I'm working with, they did a layoff. For example, they did a layoff right now, and the layoff, a lot of people left. They let go of some people, but I was actually switched from my backend role. I was working as a backend engineer, a platform engineer with them. I had to move into the engineering team, the backend team, because I can actually do backend. So I have this, so it gives you that ability to be able to be flexible. You're not rigid. So your job security is a bit higher because now they lay off some people because they need to reduce the team. But you couldn't lay me off because I have other skills that you could utilize in other places when you could fill in the other people that left, and there's a lot of work to be done. So that gives you that ability to be flexible and change from one, wear different hats, where decide to be a DevOps guy or a front end or a back end guy. But I'll still, if it was front end, I'll still have resigned. So it's just not like front end. I don't know how you guys do it. It's not like it's hard. It's just I just don't have front end.
Thank you. So, next question. What do you think are the most important aesthetic aspects of a web page?
I think I'll leave that for
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, the most important aesthetic aspect of a web page still boils down to HTML and CSS, I would say, right? And how you're able to understand the use of that appropriately determines how people would be able to also relate to it or make use of your web page. And that's where also accessibility comes to play. You know, a lot of people are building today, especially when they are building applications that run on the web browser, not considering people who are going to use this application. I mean, blind people also make use of web pages, you know, people who don't see are able to communicate with it. And you need to understand those basic things and as it relates to accessibility to know how to make use of the right elements in the right places to be able to communicate those experience you want your users to feel. So to answer that, the most important aspects would still be your HTML and your CSS. JavaScript is basically just functionality, how what happens when a button is clicked, you know, when a certain action needs to happen. That's where it comes to play. So, but the most important thing for every web page still boils down to HTML and CSS at the core of that's what the browser understands. Right.
Awesome. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah.
Another question, what tech stack would you suggest one starts with? What is your opinion on .NET?
.NET is fine. But I am not a Microsoft fan. So number one, I'm not so much of a Microsoft fan, so I wouldn't tell you to start with .NET. I'd rather go for something. I'll rather if you want to go for a tech stack, I'll rather tell you look at the market value, the kind of like competition first of all. The competition for .NET is kind of is a bit low, but um for an engineer that is just starting, you might not get a lot of opportunities in .NET because you'll be competing with people that are way experienced than you because it's an old technology, first of all. So I think you should go if I want to go for a tech stack, I'll just go with the basic mem stack, the Node.js, React, Postgres stack, just the regular mem stack. There's mem, um, there's mem stack. Let me write it, which is MongoDB Express. Postgres. So that's like a non-relational database, or you decide to go with the Postgres, the relational database, kind of alternative to this. So just start with JavaScript, basically. That's what I'm telling you, which is the most best selling. Or you pick up Python. Python is very lucrative in places like the UK. It's something I'm picking up already. So it's very lucrative in the UK. So that's another thing. You can pick up Python for your backend. React, I rather go with React on the front end for Facebook. It has a large community attached to it. Some people do with Vue.js or you do Angular, but Angular, as I said, I'm not so much of enterprise. I don't really like enterprise technologies like .NET, and Java is actually also good. It's still I'd rather go with Java than .NET. First of all, that's mine. That's my own preference, Java than .NET. If I want to basically learn a strict programming language, or you go with Python to start with. In terms of new shining tools that will most likely be very, very lucrative in a couple of months. No, it's actually lucrative now, but it would be increasing in a couple of years. I say Golang. Golang is actually good. It's good for concurrency, which is more like parallel processing, desktop applications, web. Even think people that do process management actually use Golang for building their tools. So that's what I'll say. Yeah.
Mhm. Nice. Another question. What is the difference between UI UX and front-end development?
And there's a huge difference, right? UI UX is basically just building out the design, right? And the experience. So that's mostly done by people they call product designers. There are also people who play double roles who are also front-end engineers as well as UI UX designers, right? But UI UX is mostly involved in the design side of things, that product, the look and feel, how you want it to be before eventually pushing it to the front-end guy to build out those experience, how you want them to be based on the design presented. So that's largely the difference. Front-end is involved in the development in terms of writing the code, why the UI UX person is the one who builds out those experience using tools like Figma, Adobe XD, Sketch, or whatnot.
Okay, awesome. And just to let our audience know, our next episode may be featuring UI UX design, and we will be bringing very highly experienced and talented UI UX designers to also share their experiences. So if you're interested in UI UX design, feel free to keep a date with us, and when the time comes, you will be notified of this event. Next question is, what is the importance of an AI engineer in software development team?
So, what's the importance of an AI engineer in software development team? So, do you see I don't know if a lot of you know about things like ChatGPT, recommendation engines that allow you to do it. So, literally, AI engineering can actually help in your marketing and sales. Not just that, it can help you in actually getting things done faster. Predictive technology gives you the ability to automate a lot of things. So it's just like the way you have robots in the IoT world that you're trying to build stuff that are going to automate maybe like your cooking or your handling of equipment or things like that. AI engineering will actually help you in terms of automating tasks on the web. For example, I need to ask questions like where is the best location in for travel, and I just have my AI, that a model that I've trained with a couple of travels, location, and the best based on the ratings of people around, and feed that to the engine, and the engine returns the best value. So it kind of like gives you that ability. You can use AI for things like customer care. You would necessarily have to not have a customer care representative and pay someone to actually do customer care, when you can have just an AI that is fed with the data of the system and can respond based on the inputs that the user enters. So literally, that's what the AI engineer does. Yeah. So, I don't know.
Thank you. Next question. I have been hearing about cybercrime security lately. Can you tell me a bit about it?
So there's a course called cybersecurity. That's one. It allows you to, it actually gives people the ability to learn how to defend themselves, because on the web and the internet, there are always hackers. There's people that are always trying to game your system. Even while working in the fintech environment, we had a couple of issues there. So there was a breach and we lost some money. There are things like that that you have to. So cyber security kind of like work on security of your system. in terms of they test do testing, which is penetration testing, to make sure that your system can be able to handle a certain number of load and it's not going to break down. They'll work on your inputs in terms of how they're going to check the kind of data that is going to be passed in, how encrypted your system is, and so that hackers will not be able to game into your system and actually try to game your system and take advantage of that. So cybersecurity is kind of like security on the web, and not just on the web, on any device that requires you to talk to a particular server and have communication between multiple people in an environment to secure data. That's literally the whole work of cybersecurity. So they do forensic analysis. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So anybody else have a question they want to ask? They want to unmute their mic, they want to ask? You just have to raise up your hand and then we'll give you a moment to ask the question. So in the absence of any questions, our next episode is going to be featuring UI UX design. We'll bring in pretty amazing UI UX designers to join us. And I hope you guys will follow us on all our social media handles. Not to worry, at the end of this event, we'll be sending you an email, first in appreciation, thanking you for joining us, and also giving you access to certain resources so you can learn, you can upskill, and you can perhaps advance in your careers. So before we go, we would like to say a very, very big thank you to Emmanuel Chilaka for joining us. We are deeply grateful. Thank you, Emmanuel Ogbiyoyo, also known as Man. Thank you guys for joining us. We deeply appreciate you taking out time from your very busy schedules to join us and be with us. We also thank our participants for joining us, taking time out. We know how weekends are. We are really indebted to you. We hope you learned. We hope this was insightful. We hope that regardless of the stage you are in your careers, you had something to take home, something that will steer you forward to help you grow in your career. And that is the objective of TCC. And yeah. So we also like to say a very big thank you to the Maxify Global team doing a lot of work in the background. I would like to say thank you. Without you guys, this wouldn't have been possible. And we urge you to continue to follow us on our social media handles at Maxify Global on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and also Twitter. So without any other pending things, I'd like to say thank you for joining us and have an amazing weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.